The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised.
Worldwide and out to the greater universe, you're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Greetings, Earthlings, and alert the media. The banger is back on the microphone. Welcome to another week of Sonic Vibrations, bringing you entertainment, enlightenment, fun, anger, hatred. Who knows what we bring you, but you continue to listen, and that's the main thing. Hope you're doing all well this week, that you had a productive week behind you, and you didn't sit around doing nothing. Unless you were on vacation, then I guess that's okay to sit around and do nothing at all. It's been a busy week on my end. We've been updating the website, and I encourage you all to go to the website. That's www.jlebang.com and check out all the new features. We've got some pages for interviews, and we've got the Banger Verse, which is basically the Banger universe that you've all grown accustomed to hearing. We've updated the news section and many other things that we hope that you'll enjoy, and it'll be more worth your time to peruse around the John Lebang Show, jlebang.com there, and just interact more. We're going to be having little snippets, little segments on the front page now, where you can get little highlights of what happened the prior week, the prior episodes. So that way, even if you don't have time to listen to the whole hour, you can catch some of the best parts of the show. Right there on the website on the front page, it's going to give you updated news on what's going on with some of the dramas, radio dramas that we're doing. It's also going to have some, updates on music news, because some of that might be headed your way real soon as well, which is very inspiring. Well, it's been an active week on the front of news as well, as there's been a whole lot of stuff going on, and stuff that has basically taken the media by storm, including the Trump firing of James Comey, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. The big major cyber attack, which we'll discuss here maybe in the second segment a little bit. Third segment. I'm not sure how tonight's going to roll exactly. We've got a lot to discuss, but I'm not actually entirely interested in the news. I mean, the subjects are interesting, but there's only so much a person can talk about Donald Trump and how much the media hates him and how much his supporters like him and how the protesters hate him. It's like this cycle that we keep repeating, and at least from my standpoint, it's getting old. Like, I'm already over Donald Trump, and I'm already over all the protests in the media and everything. It's like, can we move past that? Can we do something else? I'm sick of hearing about Donald Trump, but we've got to talk about him, because that's what a lot of you are coming to the show for. So we're going to get to that at some point. A few things that happened here during the week. We had a little female duck who nested in the yard, and we were waiting for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks for the eggs to hatch, and they finally did the other day, and they were only 3 ducklings that I could tell. And there were 9 or 10 eggs in the nest, But it's been rather cold, and that's another thing we're going to be talking about a little later. It's been rather cold around here, or at least cooler than normal. For a while there, we were dipping into the high 30s for the lows at night. And that's we're in May and the middle of spring, and we shouldn't be doing that. In fact, our days, we should be getting into that 70-degree weather at least on a regular basis, if not all the time. Yet we're struggling to get to the 60s. And there are some things in the news that may explain some of that, and we'll get to that at some point. But the ducklings, there were 3, and they were really cute. And I was going to get my camera so I could film them, because I've been documenting the progression of the nest. And if you are interested in that, you can go to my YouTube channel and just look up Dori the Duck, and you can find some videos on Dori's progression here. And so, I found she was really skittish, to be honest with you, and, rightfully so. Just having her ducklings hatch, she was very skittish, so I didn't want to get too close, but I saw 3 of them, and they were really cute. They weren't too big, but actually they were bigger than I thought they would be. Judging by the size of the egg, and I'm thinking, geez, that poor little duckling was crammed in that egg, and no wonder it breaks out and cracks out, right? Because it was just too big. It was like hulking out. So I run in to get to my camera so I can film them, and my neighbor, who's not that far from me, and Dori chose to pick a nesting spot right on the side of my house there, and that side of the house is only a few feet away from my neighbor's yard, and we're only separated by a chain link fence. So he began, he's cutting the grass, and he's got a riding lawnmower, so those are pretty loud. And when I came out, Dori was gone, and the little ducklings. There were still eggs unhatched, so I don't think all of them are going to make it. I don't think, by now, I was starting to worry anyways, because it seemed like it was taking weeks and weeks and weeks, and I knew it was, I think it was a 28-day cycle or whatever. But I was getting concerned that maybe they weren't going to hatch, because it's been rather cool, and we've dipped into the 30s a couple times at night, and I was thinking, man, maybe she couldn't keep them warm enough. Well, 3 hatched, but when I came back out with the camera, they were gone, all of them, and that was yesterday. And I went out this morning because I figured, okay, I'll just film them this morning. She'll be back. Maybe she was scared off by the lawnmower, and she brought the ducklings with her. And it's amazing. The ducklings, they just hatched, and they're already moving around and whatever. They were. It was so cute. Seriously, it was the cutest thing ever. But they're all gone. I mean, they were walking already. It's like the instinct is there already. It's amazing. But their life cycle is much shorter than a human's, or lifespan, I should say. So they have to learn at a faster pace than human beings have to learn, and they're probably geared for that. And I think we could probably learn faster as human beings. Some of the millennials, I'm starting to wonder if they've ever grown up, and maybe we didn't do a very good job with teaching them. There's some that are very honorable, and I don't want to put down the entire generation, but phew, overall, I'm shaking my head. But, not to say much. My generation isn't producing a whole great deal of technological advances, or even being very good humanitarians. But, we'll save that for another time. So I went out there this morning to film, hoping that they were back, and they're still not back. So I investigated. I found 1/2 of an egg that was cracked, and the rest look normal. I didn't want to mess around with it, because maybe she's still trying to get them to hatch. And I don't know if they all hatch on the same day, if it takes a few days. I'm not a duck expert. Yet, when I investigated, I was like, well, I see one off of the nest that looks like a half of one. You can see there was a little duck hair in there. So I'm thinking, okay, that was one of them, but there were 3 little ducklings. And it looked like all the other eggs were intact. And I was like, well, that's weird, but I don't know. I don't know these things. I didn't want to mess around and flip the eggs over or anything, because if she's still trying to hatch them, if she's still trying to work on them, then I don't want to contaminate the area, right? But she didn't come back. And I'm concerned a little bit that she's maybe abandoned it and that she's taken the ducklings somewhere else. Maybe where there's not a lawnmower. Because I cut around her, but I left a wide berth. I gave her lots of room. And the grass is really tall there. I'm going to have to cut that real soon now. Probably today after the show if she hasn't returned, because I don't want to bother her. She chose my yard for a nesting spot, and I said, hey, that's cool. They're my little adopted duckling family. And I didn't even get to name them. I was going to name every one. See, I named the mother Dori. But I didn't get to name any of them, and now they're gone, and I hope they come back, because I was thinking of names all as I'm running to the get the camera. I'm thinking of names for the ducklings. I'm like, okay, now what are good duck names? I just trying to think of that. And okay, what ducks are out there in the cartoon world? And I know, well, it's Daffy Duck, and none of them. I mean, at least from first glance, none of them look like a Daffy to me. So I had to pass on that one. But I didn't know any duck. I grew up watching all the cartoons, and I honestly don't know any duck names. Like, are there any famous ducks besides Donald? And again, they didn't look like a Donald either, or Daffy. Are there any more famous ducks out? Excuse me. I'm running into allergies, folks. It's coming on that time of year. And it's very possible I won't be able to perform very well next week for you. I think we're going to run on a side note here, I think we're going to run the Destiny Wars Part 1 and 2 for you next week, because I can feel the allergies coming on, and pretty soon it would be hard to do a good show for you when I'm unable to breathe, But getting back on the ducks. So I'm hoping, and the names, like, is there any famous cartoon ducks or ducks in movies that I'm overlooking? Because I can't remember anything besides Donald Duck and Daffy Duck. And none of the ducklings, if they return, look like any of those 2 ducks from the cartoon. So I wanted to give them original names, and maybe you can give me some duck names in the chat room. That would be awesome. And I would really enjoy that. So any comments you want to make, please go to the chat room. Almost all the stations that carry the John Lebang Show have a chat room, and we're pretty inactive in most of them. You may not see a whole lot of comments if nobody else is commenting, but if people are commenting, then we're getting involved in them, because we're monitoring practically all the stations that are carrying the show. Not every single one. I mean, it's pretty difficult because we're running on so many different stations at so many different time periods. I mean, at any given time, I think we're at every single hour of the day, depending on which day of the week. It's pretty incredible, actually. And with the amount of affiliate stations. But I'm off on a tangent. Please, anybody out there listening, and they have some cute duckling names that I can give the ducks if they come back, please leave them in the chat room. And maybe my favorite ones are the ones we pick for the ducklings. We'll give a little prize to whoever came up with the name. I think that's a good idea. We'll do that. So please, whatever station you're listening to us on, go to their chat room and just leave duckling names. Tell me also what famous ducks there are, because I only know of Donald Duck and Daffy Duck, and that's it. I can't remember anything else, and I'm a bit, I feel like there's more, but I don't know. So if you guys remember any famous ducks, please leave that in the chat room as well. Okay, so we're up against our first break this week, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. Please check out our sponsors because they support us, and if you support them, then they'll continue to bring the John Lebang Show to you. We'll be right back. Don't think about touching that dial.
That would be a mistake.
The John Lebang Show will be right back after this.
That's guaranteed, man. Like some good tie stick.
Check out the new book from Derek Shelmerdine,
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It tells the story of rock and roll from its roots right up until the mid-70s punk.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Not just the music, but also the events that shaped the music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
It includes the backgrounds to recording sessions, singles, album releases, births and deaths, epic concerts, and festivals.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Shelmerdine has made a painstaking effort to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Purchase the book at www.rockandrollunraveled.com. Follow him at Twitter at R&R Unraveled and look him up on Facebook at Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now.
If you are elderly, disabled, receiving SSI or Medicaid, and you have a medical need or require assistance with daily housework, shopping, grooming, medication, you may qualify for housekeeping at no cost. Call now, VIP Home Healthcare, 248-579-3805. VIP Home Healthcare, there when you need them. That's 248-579-3805.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
It's hydroponic radio for your brain, man.
Feel smarter yet? All right, folks, welcome back. Well, the big news this week was the big cyber extortion attack that happened to a whole lot of countries, and I mean a whole lot of countries got hit by what they're calling a malicious cyber extortion attack. And I'm thinking, okay, now who would do such a thing? Because they can't figure this out, or they have clues, and we're going to get things leaked to us, things told to us that that's who's behind this. But are those clues going to be the actual clues? Well, let's look into this a little bit. Let's think about this. It was a massive cyber attack that they were trying to extort money out of companies and others. And apparently it was the biggest attack of its kind ever recorded. That's what they're saying. Ooh, the biggest cyber attack. This, what they're calling malicious software that forged this onslaught, appeared to exploit a vulnerability in Windows. That's right, Microsoft Windows, that was supposedly identified by the National Security Agency, the NSA, for its own intelligence gathering purposes, and was later leaked on the internet. And anybody who's been a longtime listener of the John Lebang Show will recall that we had brought up the fact that the NSA was onto this little hack thing with Windows. That's how they were spying on a lot of people. Britain's National Health Service fell victim. Its hospitals were forced to close wards and emergency rooms, and it turned away patients. Russia appeared to be the hardest hit. According to security experts within the country, Interior Ministry confirmed it was struck. All told, several cybersecurity firms said they had identified the malicious software, which so far has been responsible for tens of thousands of attacks in more than 60 countries. And they're looking actually that it's actually closer to 90 some countries that possibly were attacked. This ransom software that locks up the user's data and flashes a message that demands money from everybody. Hey, give me your money, man. Give me your money. And they're going through Windows. The security holes it exploits were discovered several weeks ago by the Shadow Brokers, a mysterious group, very much like, what, Anonymous? That had published what it says are hacking tools used by the NSA as part of its intelligence gathering. In addition to Russia, the biggest targets appeared to be the Ukraine and India, nations where it is common to find older, unpatched versions of Windows in use. Stolen copies, pretty much. Old copies they picked up from people, stolen copies, hacked copies, whatever. So if you're not up to date, if Windows doesn't have you up to date on their new super intelligent Windows 10, which awesomely protects your computer, and it's a great system according to Windows and the advocates of Windows 10. I had to get rid of it myself. I had to go to a more archaic Windows 7 just to make sure I didn't lose my mind or my computer system, because Windows 10 was just too much for it. It did too much. But apparently the patches are more based around the Windows XP. People are still using those old copies there of Windows XP. A few other Windows versions. But now, there were clues in the story, ladies and gentlemen. They're telling us that this attack happened, and it was malicious, and it attacked a whole lot of countries. Now, who would have the power to do such a thing? We also know that this group, very much like Anonymous, you could say kind of like WikiLeaks, those various organizations that hack in, that take over things and release documentation. These guys, the Shadow Brokers, published a few weeks back about how the NSA was using hacking tools as part of their intelligence gathering. So they had information, and they let out to the whole world. They said, hey, the NSA has this tool that can hack into Windows, and they can gather intelligence, and they can get in your system. We already knew this stuff was happening because they're in your cell phone, they're in everything. But then we have a major worldwide strike, terrorism attack, you could say, to the ones who use those terms. A worldwide attack by the group that apparently was fiddling around with that sort of thing. And that's the NSA. They're fiddling around with this. Some group like Anonymous, they're called the Shadow Brokers, but it's just another group like that. A little secret organization releasing information that certain groups that they're exposing don't want us probably to know. And am I condoning this Shadow Brokers? No, but the info's out there now. Is it real? Is it fake? We don't know. But what we do know is that this stuff gets released on the internet. It's, hey, the NSA can do this. And then we have an apparent worldwide strike on nations that, well, at least Russia, who was the apparently hardest hit with this, on nations that don't necessarily fall in line with the American way. Just saying. So, could it be that the NSA, or maybe even Microsoft, nobody's talking about that, but Microsoft wants everybody updated because they're working with the government. I mean, Windows 10 pretty much is a government-mandated system saying, hey, we want to connect everybody. And they're going to stop, Windows that is, stop patching, stop giving updates to all these other systems, and they're going to solely work from 10 and beyond. And that date is ticking down. So, just two apparent, obvious groups that we could look into just a little bit. It's the NSA, they could be behind it. And Microsoft also could be behind it. Because when they know how to hack into their own systems, when they know how to do those sort of things, oh, Microsoft must be on the up and up. Maybe. If you believe that people like Bill Gates are on the up and up. I mean, he's only the guy that wants to vaccinate everybody out of existence. So if you want to do that, that's that's one thing. If you want to think in those terms. But when you look at an attack of this manner and who it's attacking and the systems it's attacking, well, then, you come up with a couple conclusions. Hey, well, maybe it's the NSA, because the attacks that did happen in America, they weren't that bad. I mean, it wasn't systemic. It didn't take out whole bunches of computers. It wasn't attacking as viral in the United States as it was in other countries. And it was demanding money. I wonder how many people paid. Can you imagine how many people must have paid to get their computers back running? Companies. It was like $200, $300, $400, $500, $600. Kept going up the longer you waited. Should have bought in early. Just like the stock market, buy in early, sell later when it's at its peak. Get out before it collapses. Get out before everybody says, yeah, this ain't going to work. But there's been a lot of those attacks. I mean, I get those ones, and I'm sure other people out there listening have also received these phone calls from somebody saying,
well, hello? Your computer is very infected right now. Please, we must do something about it. Please pay me and we can fix it.
And then to counter that, I don't know what you guys do, but to counter that, if I don't let Shady answer it, because he loves answering that. But if I don't counter that with that, then I ask him, okay, what's my operating system? Because if you know my computer has a virus, then you must know what operating system I have. Right? That's a logical question. How do you know my system's infected? I had one guy said, you have Apple. You have Apple. And I'm like, sorry, goodbye, click. The last guy answered that one, because now they're hanging up. They're like figuring it out that some of us are catching on to their bull crap. Whatever. Anyways, folks, we got to take a quick break. Maybe we're going to get rid of the guy mowing the lawn outside while we're trying to record a show. Be back soon, folks.
Don't go anywhere. The John Lebang Show will be right back.
You'd be crazy to change the dial now.
CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. And I'd like to welcome our new sponsor, Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning. For a beautiful, sparkling shine that's crystal clear, call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
All right, so where do we begin with this whole James Comey, director or former director of the FBI, because Donald Trump fires him? The funny part of it, not if you're a Comey, of course, but the hilarity of it is that Trump doesn't even have the guts to fire the guy in person. He fires the guy, and the guy finds out on television. You're fired, dude. Donald Trump. You know, and I'm not against the termination of Comey at all. In fact, I was calling for it long ago. But it seems a little unprofessional, if you ask me, Mr. Businessman. If you ask me, it's a little unprofessional to fire Comey in the manner that you did. But, you know, besides that, Comey wasn't a good guy. He dragged the country through the mud during a very important election when we needed to focus on what was going on. First, he was investigating Hillary, then he wasn't, then he was reinvestigating Hillary, and then he wasn't. It's funny, back then, the Democrats were all in favor of Comey being fired when he was putting the election in doubt because of his shenanigans, his political grandstanding. I'm still trying to figure out the purpose of it all. Why did he drag the country through that when, in all reality, nothing happened? Nothing happened. Zero. The investigation that never happened or didn't need to happen or was closed because he couldn't find anything that happened with Hillary that was out of the ordinary. And she wasn't purposely doing it. There was no intent to sabotage the country, to let out secret information. There was no intent there. It's funny. So soon after Donald Trump was elected, I was on the bandwagon. I was one of the first people saying, you know what? Fire Comey. He's got to go. That's one of the first things he should have done. But then we get the firing of him 3 months into the presidency, and it's got to be done in such a amateurish way. Of course, now the Democrats are all upset Comey got fired.
The FBI director has no credibility.
During the election, they hated him, but now that Trump fired him, it's a big deal.
What he has done, and I think it would not be a bad thing for the American people if he did step down.
And, you know, then we have Trump, and this is bothersome, where it looks like he set up Comey during some of their meetings, that he might have actually taped the conversations. Taped them. I mean, seriously.
Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
So that way he can prove he was innocent? Do you think Comey's going to tell you they're going to bust on you if they're investigating you? No, there's not an investigation going on. You want the person to be relaxed when you're investigating him. But whatever. Comey deserved to be fired. The manner of which that it was done, so much wrong with it, but let's look at over how bad Comey was as the FBI director. If you want to just take into the equation that the happenings during the election was enough to throw doubt in the man. But let's look at 10 things that is really not being discussed in the mainstream manufactured news that might have led to a firing of James Comey. Before the bombing of Boston at the marathon there, the Boston Marathon, Tamerlan Tsarnaev met with the FBI. Russia sent information to the Obama administration and a second warning, not just one, but two warnings, but the FBI opted against investigating him and what happened. So we have, on one account, we have Russia helping the United States saying, hey, this guy's a bad guy, you should be watching him. You know what, we're going to warn you a couple times because I know you ignored me the first time. And the FBI said, no worries. How about this one? Shortly after the NSA scandal exploded in 2013, the FBI was exposed for conducting its own data mining on innocent Americans. Bloomberg reported that they retained the material for decades, even if no wrongdoing was found. So they were doing what the NSA was doing. The FBI had possession of emails sent by Nadal Hassan saying he wanted to kill his fellow soldiers to protect the Taliban, but didn't intervene, leading many critics to argue that the tragedy that resulted in the death of 31 Americans at Fort Hood could have been prevented. This is all under Comey's watch. During the Obama administration, the FBI claimed that 2 private jets were being used primarily for counterterrorism, when in fact they were mostly being used for Eric Holder and Robert Mueller's business and personal travel, all under the FBI of James Comey. When the FBI demanded Apple create a backdoor that would allow law enforcement agencies to unlock the cell phones of various suspects, the company refused, sparking a battle between the feds and America's biggest tech company, which makes this incident indicative of Comey's questionable management of the agency. In 2015, the FBI conducted a controversial raid on a Texas politician meeting, fingerprinting, photographing, and seizing phones from the attendees. Some of the group believe in restoring Texas as an independent constitutional republic. Now, during the investigation into Hillary Clinton, there was mishandlings of classified information with Hillary, and the FBI made it an unusual deal in which Clinton aides were both given immunity and allowed to destroy their laptops, all under Comey. Now, the father of a radical terrorist group, or terrorist Islamist, who detonated a backpack bomb in New York City in 2016, alerted the FBI to his son's radicalization. The FBI, however, cleared that gentleman, Ahmad Khan Rahmani, after a brief interview. Oh, you're all good, man. And what do you do? The The FBI also investigated the terrorist who killed 49 people and wounded 53 more at the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. Despite a more than 10-month investigation into Omar Mateen's background, during which Mateen admitted lying to agents, the FBI opted against pressing further and closed the case. All under Mr. Comey. And we'll just give you one more. CBS recently reported that when two terrorists sought to kill Americans attending the Draw Mohammed event in Garland, Texas, the FBI not only had an understanding an attack was coming, but actually had an undercover agent traveling with the Islamists, Elton Simpson and Nadar Sofi. Now, the FBI has refused to comment on why the agent on the scene did not intervene during the attack. There has been a lot of occurrences during the Comey FBI reign to give question to his ability to either lead it or maybe undermine the entire agency itself. Whatever was going on with James Comey, it was time he had to leave. Gone. See you later. Do I agree with the method Donald Trump used? Nah. That's not how you want to find out. But knowing the entertainment world as I do, sometimes you get fired and you don't know it until until somebody finds out before you and it gets around to you. It's pretty common. Because a lot of people from that world are a little bit cowardly. You got to grant that, they're not used to they're used to having somebody else do something for them. And so I think he even sent an aide with the letter. He sent somebody else to fire him at the agency, and then Comey found out. Whatever. Like I said earlier, I'm sick of the whole talking about Trump. We've got to do it because he's doing things, he's engaging in things, and we can't just ignore it. But it's the same old thing. Is this a step into draining the swamp? Some of us might think so. As I said, I agree with getting rid of Comey. It's probably the best thing that could have ever happened to the FBI. Now we got to get rid of all the supporters of Comey in there. Just clear them all out. I mean, this is what draining the swamp is supposed to be. At least that's what I thought, that we were going to elect Trump to go in there and throw out all the bums. Get rid of them all. Get rid of all the political stooges. So if you take it into that purest form, this is a great move by Trump. Great move by Trump. And who cares how he did it, right? And I guess the ones in the government, the ones that have been entrenched in power, the shadow government, so to speak, the only way to take him out is probably to sneak up on him. And maybe that's what we're beginning to see with Trump. He's finally finding a groove and finding a way to start getting rid of people. We'll find out more on how this all works out. And there's probably going to be some lawsuits. Comey's going to sue. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe there's a private investigation. Who knows the residual events that are going to come from this. But I'm pretty happy about the losing of Comey, getting him out of the FBI. Now we got to get rid of all the people who supported him, who went along with his... I mean, do you remember? We're up against the break, but do you remember the testimony he gave back in Congress during the whole Clinton thing when they were investigating why he brought us this way, and then he took her off investigation? Why he got himself inside the election? His answers were just terrible. But the answers for most of the prior administration's minions were less than adequate. We'll say that. Up against the break, folks. More on the flip side, including climate change news.
Don't go anywhere. The John Lebang Show will be right back.
You'd be crazy to change the dial now.
Powerful, epic music by Toothbox Row. Life-changing lyrics come in every style, empowering humanity to finally unlock the chains of bondage. Experience the edgy side of positive music and rock your world today. From Primal to Divine, available now at sassyalternativemusic.com.
If you want to contact the John Lebang Show, feel free to send an email to jlebang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John Lebang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John Lebang Show. Banger. Now here's John.
All right, welcome back, folks. I'd like to apologize. I'm stumbling along today because the allergies are beginning to kick in, and it makes it a little more difficult to conversate. So, again, I apologize for that. If you aren't noticing, then, hey, you don't know what the hell I'm talking about, and I'm just going to shut up about it. How's that? So we have some climate change news, and as I spoke earlier on, right there during the beginning monologue, it's been a little chilly around these parts. We have been seeing 10 to 20 degrees below normal weather here, and it's been raining like constantly. This has been probably 4 or 5 straight days of no rain, and it's been nice because the temperatures have been allowed to creep up a bit since they weren't. I mean, we've seen some days where we were waking up and there was frost on the window. Here in May, it was chilly, 39, 38 degrees one morning, something like that. And I'm like, boy, oh boy, what the heck? This isn't March, man. It's May. We should be rocking and rolling right now. So, but because things have been cooler, I've been looking into the weather. And there's been a few little tidbits to share with you. First and foremost, our own U.S. Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State there, signed a document this past week calling climate change a serious threat to the Arctic and noting the need for action to reduce potentially harmful effects. The document, known as the Fairbanks Declaration, concluded Tillerson's chairing of the meeting, so he was in charge of it, of the Arctic Council. We have an Arctic Council. A board made up of indigenous groups and 8 countries bordering the Arctic in Fairbanks, apologize for that, Alaska. While the council only has the power to issue advisories, the language in the statement signed by Tillerson comes as a stark contrast to the statements and promises made by President Donald John Trump about climate change. And that's right, because during the election, pretty much calling it fake news, fake studies, a hoax. That's what Trump was saying. I am of a different belief that climate change happens. There's no denying it. The problem is it shouldn't be blamed on mankind. Climate change has always happened. It will always happen. We can't stop it. There's never 2 days identical. Never are there 2 identical days in a row. They may be close in temperature, but the barometer's off. There's not a stable environment anywhere on the planet. And if you go beyond that, the main concern from the people who are out there promoting that the human race, mankind, are at fault for all the climate change. We're at fault because the planet is warming. We just read a few weeks back about how Harvard is going to be engaging in the weather modification along with all the other groups that are doing it at this moment. And they're claiming that they're going to try to reduce the Earth's temperatures. The problem with the whole climate change religion, if you may, is that most of the people who believe that climate change is man-made and man is the problem for it do not take into consider a few things. First, we've only been calculating the weather as far as temperature-wise. We've only been following that for a couple hundred years. So to have accurate numbers on a couple hundred years, sure, we've got that, but we don't have accurate numbers on the supposed millions and millions and millions and millions of years of the Earth's existence and how the temperatures were there. Geologists have gotten into the idea, or have done their studies, and have made determination that there were higher carbon amounts, more life, though the temperature was warmer during periods such as the Cretaceous period. And that our current period that we're in, which technically is an ice age, believe it or not. The people who have been following the show for a long period of time know what I'm talking about. People new to the show are going, what? We're in an ice age? What are you talking about? It's real easy. You can go to Google and type in, it's a very simple phrase. Current ice age. That's all you have to type in, and a whole list of things will pop up, and it will tell you that the current ice age, the name of it, is the Pliocene Quaternary Glaciation. And it's been going on for a long freaking time. And we're in what they call an interglacial period, which means a warmer period inside a greater ice age. So we're warming up in this little ice age that we're in. Not little, it's been lasting for a long time. And even though we have all this going on, we're still nowhere near the temperatures nor the carbon numbers, the amounts of carbon in the atmosphere, as scientists claim was during the Cretaceous period. Now, you have one set of scientists saying there is more carbon, more life on the planet during the Cretaceous period, and then you have another set of scientists saying it's doom and gloom, the world's warming up, and we can't handle warmer temperatures on the planet. It's going to bring total chaos on the world. And then we take in the figures. And we're seeing that the Arctic ice is growing. As global temperatures are plummeting. And it's getting cooler here. And when we see people who get all obsessed with the global warming side of things and they worry that planet warming up is bad, it's not bad. What is worse is the planet cooling. If the planet warms a little bit, melts some of the ice, that's not a big deal. Maybe you have to come inland a little bit more. Maybe we lose a little bit of habitable land, sure. Maybe we get a little bit more rain. But that's all going to promote life. And being human beings, we're quite adaptable. We got little tubes that float under the water and can stay under the water for a long time. We've got things that they fire off into space. We're quite adaptable. We can handle everyday climate change. We can handle, in a 6-month period, a 100-degree swing in temperatures. That's not a problem. So when they're talking 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 degrees over 100 years, we can handle that. The Earth can handle that. Not a problem, because it was warmer during the Cretaceous period, according to geologists. Now, are you going to believe the geologists, or are you going to believe the climate change people? The geologists have zero political gain from saying that. And it's pretty proven. Nobody argues with that. They may come up with a new method to measure how much carbon was in a fossil or how warm it was back then. They may come up with an idea, but it's pretty much set in stone what the geologists say. Now, on the climate change thing, there are people on both sides. Hey, Joan, you ready for me yet? All right, come on, Shady, let's get this going. Well, all right then. So how you doing today? Well, I'm not too bad, eh? You feeling all right this week? Am I going to have to take over for you in the second hour again? No, I've been all right today. I'm nice and calm today. Yeah, I was listening earlier. I thought, yep, he's calm today. You don't want me to beat your ass again. I mean, take over for you on the radio. So, do you have a cool or uncool for this hour? I sure do. Do you have an intro for me this hour? This hour's cool or uncool is... John, that sounded kind of stupid. What do you mean? Don't pitch your voice like that. That's terrible. What do you mean? Keep it deep then? Well, that's what I think. You just keep it down low and you sound better. Why? What did you think that sounded like? People don't want to listen to no ferret. Well, how do you know that? Listen, if they did, they'd watch Snow White or something. Yeah, but you're not making sense. Give me a better intro. This hour's cool or uncool is Trump firing Comey. Ah, that's a good one, Shady. I know, it's always a good one when I'm here. Now will you get the phone? There's people calling in. Our first call goes to Montreal, Canada. Wilfred, what say you?
Fire them all!
Okay, thanks for your call. That's a good idea, John. What, fire everybody? Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. Do you? Well, who's going to run the government? Tell me, John, who's running it now? Well, Donald Trump's running it. And you're happy with that? Well, no, not really. But did you want Hillary? Hell no, I didn't want Hillary. Now answer some more phones. Over to Chicago. Peppa, what say you?
I want to fire President Trump and bring back President Obama.
Thanks for your call. Lady, stop calling the show. Shady, that's mean. So, she's ugly. Shady, where's that next call coming from? It just says anonymous, John. Well, should we take it? Just put them on. Anonymous, what say you?
Fire.
Thanks for your call. John, you got some stupid callers. What do you mean? They ain't too smart. Now over to Naples, Florida. Cora, you're up next.
Sonny, shut your big trap, will ya? And let the other guy talk.
Well, thanks for your opinion and your call. Told you I like that one. Well, maybe you should ask her out on a date. I think I'm too young for her, John. At your age, how can you be young for anybody? Well, when she's 104. So, how old are you? No comment. Now get that other call there. Ottawa, Canada, you're up next on the John Lebang Show.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I called the wrong number, eh?
What do you mean you called the wrong number?
I was calling the pizza guy, eh?
Pizza? That sounds good. What kind of pizza you having?
Canadian bacon, eh?
Let me ask you something.
What's that, eh?
Is there really a difference between Canadian pigs and American pigs?
It's not like that, eh?
Listen here. Women are the same all over. They're just different sizes and have different accents. Now, goodbye. Any more callers, Shady? Nope, that's it, John. Well, that was fun. So fun, I gotta go to the bathroom now. Talk to you later. Bye. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen, for yet another 60 minutes of sonic vibrations known as
The John Lebang Show.
I'd like to thank all of our affiliate stations all across the fruited plains and around the globe. Don't forget to go to my brand new updated website, constantly updated as we are actually under construction. www.jlebang.com. Thank you all for listening once again. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, and some of you, that's in the next hour. This is John Lebang signing off from the Banger Studios.
2, 1.
have liftoff. Tune in again next week. Same time, same space, same station.
Resistance is futile.